Good evening. Let us pray. O Lord our God, how excellent is your name in all the earth. Mighty, magnificent, marvelous, merciful. God, we thank you for this moment. We thank you for your never-ending grace and for yet another time to get it right. We thank you for the opportunity to be of service. We thank you that you are a God who is not only concerned with our spirit and our soul, but you are concerned with our mind and our physical body. Bless these speakers who have taken time out of their day to come to us with knowledge and wisdom and to give us an understanding. Let us not just hear this information, but let us act on it. Let us do what is necessary to make the words live in our lives. We bless all that will happen, and we know that everyone who is listening will be blessed. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Muriel Celestin Raphael, and on behalf of our beloved senior pastor, Dr. Thurman E. Evans and First Lady Bernetta Evans, I welcome you to Morning Star's Thursday night life study. Tonight, we will be discussing an endemic that has been plaguing our community for years. Even though we are amid a pandemic, this endemic is still going strong and has made patients more susceptible to COVID-19 and other illnesses. I'm joined by an esteemed panel who will introduce themselves shortly and their roles or experience in fighting and dealing with this disease. Please feel free to put your messages in the chat and we will get to as many as possible during our question and answer period. For those of you who may not be all too familiar with diabetes, let me start with a quick refresher. It's a chronic, long-lasting health condition that affects how your body turns food into energy. Your body breaks down most of the food you eat into sugar and releases it into your bloodstream. And when your blood sugar goes up, it signals your pancreas to release insulin. Insulin acts like a key to letting the blood sugar into your blood cells for use as energy. With diabetes, your body doesn't make enough insulin or can't use it as well as it should. There are 3 types of diabetes. Type 1, you're usually born with, and it's autoimmune. 5 to 10% of diabetics make up that population. And type 2 diabetes, which is what is plaguing our community as of right now, is being seen in most of some of our children, our youth, young adults, and our older population. Symptoms of type 2 diabetes vary from person to person, and it develops over many years. You may not notice any symptoms, so it's important to get your blood sugar tested if you think you're at risk. There's a 3rd type, which we won't delve into too much, is gestational diabetes, which affects our pregnant mothers. That usually tends to go away after the pregnancy, but is a predisposition for an obese child or health concerns maybe later on, or the child having type 2 diabetes later on in life as well. Another condition which not a lot of people talk about is pre-diabetes. A good deal of adults, 96 million to be exact, are walking around with is known as pre-diabetes. That's 1 in 3 people are pre-diabetic, and more than 8 in 10 don't even know about it. It takes a while for it to develop into full blown diabetes, but your doctors will stay in the know with you and relay the information and let you know what it is that you can adjust to see that it doesn't develop into full blown diabetes. So how does this all apply to our life study today? Well, in our community, the statistics are stark. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Minority Health, 13.4% of Black men and 12.7% of Black women have been diagnosed with diabetes. Combined, their rate is 60% higher than our white counterparts, than white people. So in the US, Black people are twice as likely to die from diabetes than our white counterparts. They are 3 times as likely to end up in the hospital with diabetes-related complications. They are more than twice as likely to undergo diabetic-related amputations, and they are more than 3 times as likely to have end-stage renal disease, kidney disease. Researchers have hunted and looked to see if there is some kind of genetic component, but that doesn't explain a lot of type 2 diabetes that we see in the United States. The central issue is a lifestyle factor, which we will get into, that drives obesity, which is found in a recent study in the Journal of American Heart Association. And it found it may account for up to half of type 2 diabetes in the United States. So about 55% of Black women, and 38% of Black men have obesity. So these people can or might develop diabetes later on in life. But those lifestyle factors, they don't come out of thin air. The beginning of a solution might be education. It needs to be culturally relevant and delivered by individuals that have relatable backgrounds and experiences with the community that they serve. We are doing that today. Without further ado, please meet one of our panelists, Jermaine Vaughn. He's the Senior Territory Manager for Secure Simplicity, which is a diabetes treatment, which we'll be speaking about in length as well.
Good evening, Saints. How are you? Dr. Muriel, thank you for the introduction. I want to run through a quick background on me before I get into the product. As Doc said, that I'm the Territory Manager. Basically, I'm the sales and marketing person for a product that is new to the market to help people manage their blood sugar excursions, basically all the ups and downs that happen due to diabetes. One of the reasons that I got involved in this space is because about 11 years ago or so, I watched my grandmother decide to tell my mother and my aunt, who were responsible for checking on her on a regular basis, that she was taking her medication. What my mother and my aunt failed to get my grandmother to do was go into a little bit more detail about that. And what my grandmother was doing was physically taking her medication and throwing it in the garbage because she was done. She was tired. She didn't feel like pricking her fingers anymore. She didn't feel like taking the medication. She didn't feel like taking insulin. And unfortunately, one Saturday we came and she was in a coma with a blood sugar of about 900 milligrams per deciliter, which is significantly too high. But the old lady put up a fight. A 2.5-year coma, but she fought to hold on to her life, and eventually she gave in. I did not want to see any other family member or any other person that I know experience anything like that. So I went headstrong into learning as much as I possibly can about this insidious disease. So I've been in every space on the marketing side and sales side with 4 different companies over the last couple of years to make sure that I was doing everything I possibly could to help save lives and save limbs. So if you don't mind, I'm going to try to share my screen here. And I'm going to reiterate, if you have any questions as I'm going, please put them in the chat and we'll do the best we can to get back to those at the end of the presentation. Let's see. Okay. Can we all see it? So this is the product that I've got, Secure Simplicity. It's a wearable insulin patch for all intents and purposes. What it does is it's a replacement for mealtime insulin. So all the shots and insulin injections that people should take for their meals, for anything that they put in their mouth, breakfast, lunch, dinner. This is a replacement for the pens that people tend to forget on a regular basis. The reason is, and this is a kind of an interesting stat, I'm going to speak to this a little bit more detail. Insulin was found, it was discovered 101 years ago. It is the best chemical that we have, it's the natural hormone that we have to keep blood sugars under control. And yet, the number that we're looking at to see how well people are controlled is still absolutely out of control. So the question is why? Why are people not getting their blood sugars under control despite the fact that insulin is available? And what it comes down to is people just don't like taking shots. It's not a fun experience. It's painful. It's frustrating. It's embarrassing. It gets in the way. And the other thing is, and that's not on this slide, but it's a really old technology. The first insulin pen was introduced in 1985. So if you think about that, let's think about some of the things that were in 1985. Catalytic converters were really, really big back in 1985. We ain't got catalytic converters sitting in our cars anymore. Another thing, and this is not to be funny, but just to show you how much things have changed in every other industry. Some of us were walking around with Walkmans in 1985. We ain't got no Walkmans now. They might be worth a whole lot of money, but nobody got Walkmans anymore. All your music gets downloaded, and yet here it is. We've got a disease that we're trying to manage, and we're using technology from 1985. There's a big reason why it's not working as well as it should be, because we haven't kept up with the times. This product that I have actually helps us keep up with the times. The stat there that says 72% of people don't inject away from home, there's a couple of reasons for that. And one of those reasons is I just don't want to do all the shots that the doctor told me to take. If people are supposed to take an injection for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snack, we're asking people to do anywhere between 90 to 120 shots in the course of a month. That's just something no one's going to do. It's frustrating. It's overwhelming. Then you've got I just physically forgot my pen. I know I had it, but I left it on the table before I left the house, or I left it in the office, or it fell in the car. And no offense to some of the ladies, I had my pen in my old pocketbook, like the pocketbook I got on today doesn't match the shoes I had on the other day. So I don't have that pocketbook anymore. From our gentlemen, it's in the jacket or the sweater or the pants pocket. We just never took it out. Those are issues that with the pen get in the way of people having the control that they're supposed to. The other reason is sitting in welcome company. A lot of people don't want anyone else to know that they've got diabetes. So they just won't inject in front of other people. Now, this particular slide I found to be really interesting. 4 missed mealtime doses leads to an A1C increase of almost 1 full point. Now, 4 missed shots doesn't seem like it's that much, but let's think about that. That's 1 shot every other day. So that's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday is just 1 shot. If we're supposed to take a shot with each meal, let's say we're all doing what we're supposed to and doing breakfast, lunch, dinner. That's 21 shots over the course of a week. Missing 4 of those is 17 shots that we actually take. Going 17 for 21 is an 81% approval rate. That's a great number under almost every circumstance. You're in college, you're graduating with a B. Basketball player, you shoot 81% from the foul line. That's fantastic. Golfers, 81% of the greens, incredible. Tennis players, 81% of the time you get your first serve in. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame. However, 81% compliance with what the doctor says for shots when you're taking regular shots is a problem for diabetic patients. This is the product that addresses that. This product, I'm actually going to show it because I've got one in my hand. It actually is this small. This is Secure Simplicity. It's a wearable patch that you can wear on your midsection that the doctor can prescribe. And with 2 buttons that are on the side, you click those and it delivers 2 units. So instead of injecting yourself every day, you wear this for 3 days alone. So 10 of these replaces an entire month's worth of shots. And that's what's here. So here's the other thing to think about. So over the course of a given month, as I mentioned before, 3 to 4 shots over the course of a month is 90 to 120 shots total for just the month. You multiply that out by 12. With simplicity, this is only 122 patch changes for the entire year. Tremendous difference, and it helps make a difference for patients to have better control. This is some of the information that patients have been saying to us once they decide to get on it so that they don't have to take the injections all the time. And everyone that I've spoken to, I've yet to have a patient that started on this and complained about it. Most of my patients go, I wish this had come out before. How come it took so long for the doctor to tell me about it? How can I get it? What do I need to do to tell my family about it? So I just wanted to let you all know that this is currently available in the market, but it's something that you need to speak with your physician about. We're going to have my phone number in the chat since I work for a medical device company. If you ever want to speak with me about it directly or have me reach out to your physician, I can do that without a problem. Thank you. And at this point, I'll introduce Alice Cajo. She is our certified diabetes care and education specialist. See, I got the new name right. She's up next. Thanks. Let me stop sharing my screen. Alice, it's all yours.
Thank you very much for that intro. I'm going to share my screen now. Give me 1 second. All right. Okay, so once again, my name is Alice Cajo. I am a registered dietitian and certified diabetes care educator and specialist. Just a little bit about myself. I've been a dietitian since 2014. I completed a MA in psychological studies in 2017, and I've been a CDCES since 2020. And I've made my career focus in nutrition education and counseling in outpatient setting, mostly focusing on weight management and diabetes education. So I just wanted to talk a little bit more about insulin and how it works. I feel like the more you know, the more you understand why it's so important to be on point with your medication regimen and your diet and lifestyle. So insulin basically, as Jermaine mentioned, is a key, or Dr. Muriel mentioned, is a key that unlocks the cells to allow glucose in. So when you eat carbohydrate foods mostly, they are broken down into glucose, and that glucose enters the bloodstream. And to allow it to get into your cells to be used for energy, insulin opens up the cells and lets it in. When you have diabetes, sometimes your body doesn't make enough insulin, or the insulin that it's secreting is not working well with the insulin receptors on the cell. So instead of your glucose going into the cell and being used for energy, it stays in your bloodstream, causing high blood sugars. It eventually breaks down and becomes stored as fat. High blood sugar or high levels of glucose in the blood over time can cause damage to small blood vessels in your kidneys and your eyes and your nerves. It leads to a lot of damage. So that's basically an overview about how insulin actually works when you take it. This is just kind of a breakdown of what your blood sugar levels should be for a person without diabetes and then someone with diabetes. So if you do have diabetes, you want your insulin or your blood sugar levels to be between 80 and 130 or 120 in the morning time. So you're fasting sugar before you have anything to eat. And then 2 hours after a meal, if you have diabetes, your blood sugar, you don't want it to peak more than 180 after you eat. And as for the A1C goals, 7 or less is kind of the standard A1C goal for someone with diabetes. So a little bit more about the A1C. The A1C basically is a percentage that gives you an average of what your blood sugar has been over the past 90 days. it's an average, but it doesn't show you the full picture of what your highs and lows have been over those 3 months. So just to give you an example, this is A1C of 7, right? Which is the goal. This is a chart basically showing how a person with A1C 7, their blood sugar breakdown could be. So you can see here, there's a little range between 70 and 180 is the ideal range for your blood sugar levels. So someone with an A1C of 7 could be spending a lot of time with a lot of lows and highs that average out to 7% A1C. So like I had a patient just yesterday. She's on a number of oral medications for her diabetes. She's on Trulicity, which is an injection. She's on a basal insulin that she takes at night, and she's also on a mealtime insulin. And she's like, I don't take my insulin when I eat. Sometimes I just forget, and then sometimes it's just too much. It's too much sticking. But I'm on all these other medications, so those should work, right? And my A1C is good, so I'm fine. I can skip my mealtime doses. But now, as we get more understanding about blood sugar, we want to move beyond just looking at our A1C as kind of a measure, and more so at your time and range. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. Okay. So time and range basically speaks to how much time you spend in the target range for blood sugar, which is between 70 and 180. There's a strong correlation between the percent of time that you spend within range and the reduction in diabetes complications such as heart disease, kidney disease, neuropathy, eye damage, etc. So these are kind of the targets for the time and range. You want to spend at least 70% in that range of 70 and 180. No more than 25% of time should be spent higher than 180. So just a little bit about that. Most of the time when our sugar spikes, it's due to something that happened during a meal, whether you had too much carbs or you didn't take your insulin. If you do have a mealtime insulin dose, that you skipped it or didn't take it. Most of the time, the hyperglycemic episodes are asymptomatic. Like a lot of times you don't feel the highs. You'll feel the lows, but you don't feel the highs. So if you're not monitoring your blood sugar regularly, you might be missing these highs and this insight. I'm going to, after I finish, I'm gonna pass it on to Sister Jackie, who can talk a little bit more about the CGM device in addition to her experience with Simplicity. But I've been encouraging anyone that I see, if you have been recommended by your doctor to do finger sticks at least twice a day, and you haven't been doing them because maybe you don't like pricking your finger or you forget, getting one of those continuous glucose monitor devices will help you in your treatment, your self monitoring and your treatment outside of the doctor's office tremendously. So I don't know if you guys have seen the commercials where the people have the little patch on their arm and they wave their phone and they're like, I can see my blood sugar here, I don't have to stick myself. So one of those devices will help you gain more insight about the time you spend within range and helping you to learn how your body responds to certain meals, how your body responds to stress, exercise, how your body responds to your medication regimen. You don't have to wait to get your A1C to know how you're doing. And you shouldn't rely on the A1C alone to give you that insight. Okay, so moving on. So how can you increase your time in range? Well, if you are taking a mealtime insulin, the best way to stay from having highs, so when we talk about time and range, I'm speaking more about highs or hyperglycemia, because even though going low is pretty dangerous from a standpoint of you could go unconscious, it's not good for you, but the highs and hypoglycemic episodes is what leads to that long-term complications over time. So one way to reduce or increase your time and range is to reduce how high your blood sugar goes after you eat. So if you are on insulin and you maybe forget to take your dose, or if that's like a thing for you, you could speak to your doctor about getting the Simplicity device, because it will hopefully increase your compliance with your boluses at your meal times. Even if, like, say, for example, you start eating and you're like, oh, I forgot, I don't have my insulin, you could just click, 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 you know. So trying to remember to always take your mealtime insulin, your short-acting insulin when you do eat, will help to reduce your blood sugar elevating after that meal. Also, the type of foods that you eat. So low glycemic meals or carbohydrates, they digest slower because of their fiber content. So you're not having a big spike after you eat. Instead, your sugar rises more evenly and it peaks a little bit lower. So for example, high glycemic foods would be like white rice or white bread, white sugar, potatoes, like white potatoes, things like that. They absorb quicker when you eat versus a higher fiber food like brown rice or whole grain bread, whole wheat pasta, your fruits and veggies. Those are more optimal for helping to keep your blood sugar from going up too high after you eat. And then lastly, water. So hydration, drinking lots of water, especially if you do notice it's a little high, can help to flush out the amount of sugar in your bloodstream and dilute that. So let me unshare my screen. I'm gonna stop sharing. So I wanted to just talk about that a little bit because I do notice there is some misunderstanding about how the different diabetes medications work. And some people think that if they take their basal insulin or the one at night, it's okay for them to skip their mealtime dose. Or if they're taking like an injectable like Trulicity or Ozempic, they think that that's the same thing as insulin. So if you are prescribed a mealtime insulin, it's important to take it because it's a short-acting insulin that's designed to cover the food that you're eating in that moment. So if you're skipping it or you're finding that you're having a difficult time remembering or you just don't feel like doing it, you could speak to your doctor about the Simplicity device. I think it's such a great tool to have to help you increase your compliance with your medication. So, and the CGM, the continuous glucose monitor. So with that, if you have any questions, I can answer them at the end, but I want to pass it to Sister Jackie because she has experience with both the CGM and the Simplicity. So she can speak from a personal standpoint, how that has helped improve her blood sugar tremendously.
Thank you, Sister Alice. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jacqueline Jenkins, and I work for Union County College as a professor of soft skills. I am also the Director of Community Relations at Morningstar, and I am a 20-year veteran. Morningstar has been my home for 20 years, and I have decided that I'm not going anywhere. In fact, Morningstar, or at Morningstar, has been my best year ever. So I'm so delighted to share with you my battle with diabetes, and yes, my testimony of success with Simplicity and the Freestyle Libre system. Before I start, please allow me to interject a little humor along the way, because for me, some days I have to laugh to keep from crying. So please pardon me if I make light, but this is a very serious topic. So diabetes ran rampant in my family for 5 generations. My dad had diabetes, and I saw him lose his foot and his eyesight diminished. But he could eat the house down, and he could smell you coming a mile away. Well, almost. He never lost his hope, his energy, or his wisdom. So I developed diabetes in 2009 after taking care of my mom. I was so busy taking care of her, I forgot to take care of myself. So in November of last year, my primary doctor took my blood sugar and my A1C was 14. She was done with me. She told me, I'm sending you to a diabetes specialist. And I said, I better go get Jesus. You see, I had two problems. I could not bear to prick my fingers, and I was stuck on my homemade mac and cheese. After I met the specialist doctor, she told me that I was the perfect candidate for simplicity. In fact, she called it simple simplicity. And I told her, well, I'm down like Bobby Brown. And she said, who is Bobby Brown? Anyway, I started using simplicity and the freestyle monitor in November of last year. And by March of this year, my A1C was down to 8. And as of today, it's down to 6. I was like, see what happens when you go get Jesus? I was on my way. So I had the monitor on my arm and the patch on my mid area. I did not have to prick anymore because the freestyle monitor told me what my glucose was. The simplicity patch allowed me to interject the insulin with just a click. I always know my numbers all day, every day. And do I cheat? Yes, some days I do. But the system has made me pay attention to my numbers and what I eat. And it made me take better care of myself because I knew I was going too high or going too low. So, my good people, I wanted to share this testimony with you because the simplicity patch is awesome. And the monitor is awesome. All I do is wave it across my arm and I see my numbers. And then if it's too high at mealtime, I click to bring it down. So I want to recommend the system, the simplicity system and the freestyle monitor to anyone that's struggling with diabetes. Even if you're borderline, it will help you get back on track. So thank you for listening to my testimony. I'm free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last. So we will turn it back to Minister Terry at this point, who's going to tell us if we have any questions.
Okay, guys, I'm keeping my eyes on the chat. So if you have any questions for this awesome panel, please put them in the chat in Facebook or YouTube so I can direct the questions to the panel. I'm going to start off the questions, and I have a couple because I have my closest friend passed away from complications from diabetes a couple years ago. So I'm extremely interested in this topic. As I watched them, I was with them the day they were diagnosed. I watched them discuss with me how they did not want to have to take insulin. I watched them start taking insulin. And then I watched them change from a 6'3" person to a 5'11" person when they had to get amputated from the knees down. So I'm extremely interested in this topic. And my first question is, how do you, if someone has pre-diabetes, what can they do to make sure they don't get diabetes so they can avoid this whole journey of fingers and the whole nine? Is there anything they can proactively do so that they don't have to go down that road?
I think I'm gonna have to defer to Sister Alice because I believe that's more of a lifestyle question. And I will say that it requires a lot of discipline, especially if you know that you're predisposed and you also have a familial history. So the earlier you take the decision to be that disciplined, the better.
For sure, yeah. So if you do find yourself with prediabetes, just some simple diet and lifestyle changes can help to bring your A1C back down within range. Sometimes the doctor will just say like, lose weight or eat better, start exercising more. If you really want to make those changes, though, you could always ask for a referral to a dietitian or nutritionist, diabetes educator, somebody who can be some kind of a coach and help you along the way, because that's definitely easier said than done. So sometimes doctors will maybe start patients on metformin, which is like one of the first line medications. But a lot of times I have patients who are like, the doctor said I have prediabetes and they want to start me on metformin, but I don't want to take medication. I want to do diet and lifestyle. And it's definitely doable that way for sure. So changing how you eat, adding in more exercise, those things will help to lower your A1C and bring you back within range to prevent you from going to full-blown diabetes.
And also, what happens with someone where what's the journey from watching someone say, hey man, I have diabetes, and then 10 years later, they need a kidney and the kidney's rejected, and like, what, can somebody help me with that? Cause it's like, when I was going through that process with my friend, I didn't necessarily go, well, how's this happening? Or what, I was just going, okay, what can I do? So what's that journey where somebody's, one day you're having a conversation about diabetes, the next day you're watching them become an amputee, like?
I'll have to say that has to do with non-compliance, and that's going to cover everything, whether it's the lack of the drug or whether it's the person having the medications and not taking it. So I'll reference the highs that Alice spoke to. That will, if you are consistently in that high level, that's where the sugar gets into the bloodstream and starts to attack these organs, the kidneys, the heart, the eyes, everything that has microvessels, and nerves. It'll start with the tingling in the fingers and the toes, and then the loss of your senses in that manner, which it's neuropathy. Then you'll have the addition of medications such as gabapentin, which will try to prevent some of these issues. But like we've tried to reiterate from the beginning, the compliance is key, and the taking the medication is key, and the exercise and the diet is key. So if we see yourself going that route and it started to go that way, as long as there are no damage to those vessels, the eyes, the nerves, the heart, the kidney, you haven't gone into renal failure, there's still time to take it back.
I just want to add to that. It's hard because diabetes is like a lifetime disease that requires a lot of management. It requires constant monitoring, thinking about what you eat, exercising, et cetera, et cetera. Then compounded on top of that, it doesn't really show a lot of symptoms until it's almost too late. So you can easily kind of just be like, whatever about it, until you have complications that can't be reversed. So for example, like your kidneys, your blood sugar is constantly high, your kidneys are constantly flushing those sugars out, but the glucose is not designed to pass through those small blood vessels in the kidney. So over time, it causes damage. So it's so important to not just, take your medications as prescribed, but really you have to take your diabetes management into your own hands. And there's a whole program, diabetes self-management education. If you feel like, going to the doctor every 3 months, every 6 months is not enough, you could always ask for referral to a diabetes specialist or educator that can follow up with you more closely, help you stay on top of those things. There's so much technology out now, like the Simplicity, the CGM. I mean, come on, we have the continuous glucose monitor. Like we all should have, everyone, I feel like with diabetes should have one of those. But it's hard. There's a big mental, like psychological piece with having to constantly manage a disease like that. So it can be hard. But there's so much support and help and technology out here, and you really have to just decide to take matters into your own hands.
And if I could say, I want to make it clear, it wasn't easy. I had to get serious about my situation. And thank God it didn't affect any of my organs because I did what I was supposed to do. Not only was I on the simplicity, I was also on the pills. And I was on the injection, on the pen. They had me on all of those things until it got under control. And then it came down. The A1C came down gradually. And they took me off the medication. They took me off the pen. And I was more in control. And it felt good to be in control. But trust me, we love to eat as a people. So as a result, you have to take this serious. This is no joke.
If I could piggyback, and this is from a not only the diabetes education, but from a personal standpoint. I remember talking to my dad. My dad has type 2 diabetes, and he is doing the things that he's supposed to do now. And I remember having the conversation with him when his physician first introduced Lantus to him. He told him he needed to take 15 units before he went to bed every day. So my father calls me and he goes, "I'm not taking insulin." I said, "Well, why?" His response immediately, this is a quote, "Insulin kills people." So let's be real. The information that gets thrown around our community, because we heard somebody at church say it, somebody at the local bar say it, somebody at the Legion, wherever it is that we heard the information, we're quick to pick that information up from the beauty shop or the barber shop versus the medical professionals that we should be listening to. So what I told my father was, I said, "Dad, you do realize insulin's not a problem." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, it's putting something in my body that I shouldn't have. I said, "Well," I said, "insulin's technically a growth hormone." I said, "So insulin works fine in my body and I'm not sick." Well, everybody that I know, his response, that took insulin, they got an amputation. I said, that's because they had the same conversation with their friend, their child, that you and I are having, and they kept saying no. So by the time they actually did get the insulin, it was just too late. I said, "Dad, the faster you start this, the better." So what I told him was, it's hormone replacement therapy. If you look at it from that perspective, you'll be a lot better off. The other example that I gave him, and the gentlemen that are listening will have a better appreciation for this, the little blue pill, whether it be Viagra, Cialis, that goes to more men who have diabetes than anything else, because of the fact that that is going to affect your blood flow. So what I said to him, I said, it's amazing. Nobody wants to take a shot until it's something that's important to them. You can tell a guy, "I need to shoot you 5 times in the eyeball with testosterone," and they'll take that, but they won't take insulin. So it's just a lot of misunderstanding that's out there. As soon as people understand the earlier, the better, they'll be better off. I had an endocrinologist that explained to me the damage that blood sugar causes in the blood cells this way. He said, imagine taking a garden hose and getting really, really fine glass and dump it in there and then put water in it and cap the 2 ends and then start shaking it. When you start shaking it, at first, nothing happens. Eventually, there's going to be a tiny scar, but it's going to be on the inside of the garden hose, not on the outside. The more you shake it, the more the glass shards are going back and forth, and eventually it's going to shred that garden hose. That's what the excess blood sugar does to people. So the faster we can get it addressed, the less likely that you're going to have for the long-term damage.
Wow. Awesome. I got a question just came in, guys. How can we get people from reactive to proactive in terms of diabetes care?
And I guess I can start. So you just start by having the information, going to your doctor, getting your blood work done, seeing what your numbers are, what's your A1C, what's your fasting sugar? Is it trending up? Is it trending down? Is it within range? If it's not, starting to make those lifestyle changes to help prevent the progression. Um, so it just starts with just being in the know. If you have predispositions like a family history or things like that, you definitely want to be more proactive about getting blood work done regularly and just making sure your numbers are stable, that they're not trending up. So sometimes even if your sugar is within range, but you see it like slowly creeping up, or every time you go, you want to kind of address it then, even then, so once again, if you go to your doctor and you see these labs, they see these labs and they're like, okay, you need to lose 10 pounds, or you need to eat better, come back in 6 months, we'll check it again. That might not be enough for you to take matters into your own hands. You could always ask for a referral or even go through your insurance and find a dietitian or a diabetes educator in your area who can help you more strategically and more individually, help you to reach those goals, and take control of your health.
I mean,
I'm just plug myself. I am seeing patients. So if you guys are interested in, seeing a dietitian or a diabetes educator, you could always check me out.
and before we get to that point, a healthier lifestyle, bypassing, when they were researching what it is that may lead Black people to having a higher incidence of diabetes, one of the things that they looked at was the fact that some of the foods in the area, the chains that are readily available in the area that people might think are less expensive than actually walking to Aldi's or to a Whole Foods and attaining the vegetables and fresh food that may keep them off of insulin. So learning how to eat, speaking to the diabetes specialist and looking for substitutes for some of those meals that we like so much. I love my macaroni and cheese, but if I have to eat cauliflower with cheese and season it in the same manner so that I can, get that out of my system, then that's what, you have to do. It is a day-to-day struggle. It doesn't go away. And that's one of the things people tend to need to learn, especially with weight loss. It's a constant battle. Diabetes is a constant struggle, as Sister Alice, has said. It doesn't go away. Even if you lose the weight, don't get lax, and then within the next week or so, say continue to go back to your old habits. It's a struggle. So weight loss, maintenance, exercise, and eating the right things, and staying in constant conversation with your physician. If your physician is not giving you what it is that you're supposed to be given, the support that you think that you need, change physicians. And then, as stated, ask for a referral for a weight loss management specialist.
Awesome. Got another question just came in, guys. The patch that can consistently monitor your blood sugar, do you happen to know if you need a prescription for it, or is it over the counter?
So you do need a prescription for it. Your doctor can provide that for you. And there's 3 different kinds, and whichever one they want to go with, they can prescribe for you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
not a lot of diabetes management is over the counter.
Okay.
But definitely, if you have diabetes and you're watching this, please talk to your doctor about the CGM, especially if you're supposed to be monitoring at home and you're not monitoring consistently, and you don't have a general idea of what your sugars are like, you don't have a general idea of how you're responding to your medication or you're responding to meals. It's a sensor, it goes on your arm, it lasts for 14 days. If you have a smartphone, you can download the app. You don't even have to get the reader, because I know the reader is the more expensive. I think it's like the Freestyle is like $75. But if you have a smartphone app All you need is the sensors, and they last for 2 weeks. And you just wave your phone over it every time you want to know what your sugars are. It will tell you your patterns. You'll see your time in range. You'll see how you respond to meals. You'll see if you need to adjust any medications. So please, if you have, if you're supposed to be monitoring, ask your doctor about the CGM.
And you can also ask your doctor about this medication if you're not finding that the medications that you're on, if you're compliant, are not working, bringing down your levels. So it might be something that they may consider if they're not already in the know. And as Jermaine said, you can find his number in the chat, and he'd be readily available to speak to your doctor and then see about helping to transition if your doctor feels that that might be a good fit.
Okay, guys, I think we're getting close to wrap up. I was just putting Brother Jermaine's number in the chat one more time. It is on Facebook, guys. Those of you that are watching Facebook and YouTube, Brother Jermaine's number is in the chat.
Do we have Sister Alice's information?
Yeah,
as well?
no, yeah.
Our website, I will speak it out loud and you can type it in. If you wanted to make a visit with me, I am doing in-person and virtual visits. My office is in Vauxhall. It's within a primary care physician office if you want to see me in person and you're in the area, but I also do telehealth. I do take insurance, and my website is newstartnutritionnj.com.
News.
NEWSTART nutritionnj.com. Or if you just look up my name on Google, it should pop up. Alice Temple.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, this very nice flashy thing came up when I put it in, so in the chat. So it's, yeah, we're good. Awesome. So I have a quick announcement before I let these guys close out. This was an awesome session. I hope you guys got as much out of it, those of you on YouTube and Facebook, as I did. Awesome. So before I let them close, just one quick announcement. This is Food Pantry Weekend. So the schedule is tomorrow, Friday, July 15th. We meet at the church at 9:15 a.m. to unload the food truck. At 10 a.m., we'll prep the food bags for distribution on Saturday. And on Saturday, July 16th, we'll begin at 8:30 a.m. to prep the food bags and distribute them at 9 a.m. Once again, tomorrow, Friday, July 15th, 9:15 a.m. to unload the food truck. That's when they need a little more muscle. At 10 a.m., we will prep food bags for distribution on Saturday. That's tomorrow. And then on Saturday, July 16th, we will begin at 8:30 a.m. to prep the food bags and distribute them at 9:30 a.m. Okay, so again, this is Food Pantry weekend, third weekend, guys. So if you're available, please come out and lend a hand and help make that happen. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to this awesome panel to close us out.
I'll close with be your best advocate and find a physician that listens to you, and be proactive and compliant with your meds, and take the time to take care of yourself.
I'll add to that. We recognize, obviously, that there are so many things available for people who are struggling managing their blood sugars with in the world of diabetes. Everybody's not on insulin, obviously, but like Dr. Muriel said, whatever it is that the doctor is speaking with you about, trust the information. They are the medical professionals, and do whatever it is that you need to do to stay compliant with the meds that you're taking and make your life as easy as possible. God gave it to you. Let's try to extend it as long as possible.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's definitely not easy, but take advantage of the technology that's available, the support that's available. Take matters into your own hand. Don't wait till your doctor's appointment to get your blood work done. Check your blood sugar at home. Make notice of how you respond to certain things, your medications and your meals. And if you need support, reach out and find somebody who can help you manage. There's so many different resources out there for diabetes self-management. So like Dr. Muriel said, be proactive, and I hope you guys feel empowered to take your health into your own hands.
And yes, I would like to say that don't forget to take care of yourself. Sometimes we're so busy that we don't take time for ourselves. We're with the kids, we're with the job, we're with the family, that we neglect ourselves. And remember, if you're not good, nothing is good. So take time to take care of yourself. Thank you for joining us. Have a good night. Bye.